The Thin-Faced Man. I haven't really talked about this to anyone. Not properly. It's not the kind of thing you can explain without sounding off. Like maybe you've cracked a little, or maybe you're chasing shadows that were never there to begin with. But I need to write it down before I forget. I think that's part of it, how he works. The forgetting. Anyway, I used to work overnight shifts at a long-term care home just outside of Bloomington, Illinois. Small place. About 35 beds, mostly dementia patients and elderly folks who didn't have family. I just turned 30 and was going through a divorce I didn't see coming. So the job seemed like the perfect escape. Nights were quiet. Just me, the security system, and the soft buzz of fluorescent lights. The weirdness didn't start right away. For the first couple of weeks, the worst thing I had to deal with was a patient named Walter who liked to pull the fire alarm whenever he got bored. That and a few flickering lights. Old wiring. I didn't think anything of it. Then came the night I saw him, just a glimpse. It was around 2:15 a.m. I remember because I just made my final rounds and was heading back to the office when I passed the glass hallway that connects the east wing to the rest of the building. That hallway always creeped me out a little. You can see your reflection in the glass at night, but it's warped, like you're underwater. Everything has this bluish tint. I glanced at the glass as I walked by, just a reflex, and I stopped cold. There were two reflections. One was me, the other wasn't. He was standing a few feet behind me, tall, extremely thin, wearing something dark, but not quite black. It had a strange sheen to it, like wet cloth. But his face is what froze me. It was narrow, like someone had taken a normal human face and stretched it vertically. The cheekbones were too high. The mouth was too small. The eyes, I don't even know how to describe them. They weren't glowing or anything cliché like that. They were just old, tired in a way that made something in me feel small and temporary. I turned around instantly, and of course nothing was there. When I looked back at the glass, it was just me, alone. I laughed it off, told myself it was the glass playing tricks, that I was exhausted. I didn't tell anyone. I needed this job. And besides, I didn't want to be the guy who freaks out over his own reflection. The next night, though, things got stranger. I was doing paperwork when I heard someone whispering. At first, I thought it was the intercom. Sometimes the nurses forget to switch off the mics when they talk in the patient rooms. But the whispers weren't coming from the speakers. They were behind me, just out of range, just low enough that I couldn't make out the words. I spun around, again, nothing. I started keeping track of the time after that. I don't know why, just a gut feeling. Every time something weird happened, I looked at the clock. 2:17 a.m. Always. The patients began acting differently too. Walter stopped pulling the fire alarm. He stopped talking altogether, just stared at the corner of his room where the walls met the ceiling. A perfect 90-degree triangle of beige tile, and he wouldn't look away. Not when I waved my flashlight in front of him. Not even when I snapped my fingers next to his ear. Then Mrs. Halperin, one of the more lucid residents, started screaming in the middle of the night. I found her standing barefoot in the hallway, shaking, eyes wide, her nightgown soaked with sweat. "He's too thin," she said, over and over. "He's too thin, he's too thin." That same night, I walked into the staff restroom to splash cold water on my face and found all the mirrors covered with towels, just draped like someone had died. I asked the day nurse about it later, and she said she didn't know anything about it. When I uncovered one of them, it was totally normal. But I swear, just for a second, I thought I saw someone else's face looking back. Long, pale, expressionless. After the towel-covered mirrors and Mrs. Halperin's outburst, I started keeping a little notebook. Not official logs. I couldn't exactly write, "Saw a spectral nightmare in the hallway," on the facility clipboard. Just little notes to myself. Patterns, timestamps, things that felt off. And one thing was consistent. 2:17 a.m. Every night. That's when it all happened. Flickering lights, whispers, the temperature dropping in the east wing. And sometimes that feeling, like I wasn't alone, like someone was just around the corner, watching. About a week after the mirror incident, I was doing an inventory run in the supply closet behind the East Hallway nurses' station. A cramped room full of gloves, bedpans, adult diapers, you name it. I knocked a box off the top shelf while reaching for gauze. As I bent down to pick it up, I saw something lodged between the wall and the bottom shelf. A small, black leather-bound notebook. No name on it. At first, I thought it belonged to one of the nurses. But when I opened it, I realized this wasn't any kind of supply log. It was full of handwritten entries. Disjointed, messy, some barely legible. The first page simply read, "He shows up when they're weakest. Don't look too long. Don't let him reflect." My chest tightened. I flipped through the pages. Whoever wrote this had been keeping the same kind of notes I had. But theirs went back months, maybe years. There were pages of scribbles, drawings of stretched faces, slumped figures with impossibly long limbs. One entry said, 2:17 a.m. again. He walked past the med closet door. I didn't breathe. I think he knew. Another said, he took something from Miriam, not her body herself. She's here, but she isn't. Her eyes don't move anymore. That stopped me cold. We had a resident named Miriam. She used to hum old jazz songs when she wandered the halls. Now she just sits in her wheelchair, blank-eyed, mouth slightly open. Nobody could explain it. She wasn't catatonic. Her vitals were normal, but she wasn't there anymore. The final page of the journal was completely black, as if someone had furiously scribbled over whatever had once been written. I took the notebook home. I don't know why. I think I just needed proof, something real, tangible. Something that said, yes, this is happening, and no, you're not losing your mind. But taking it didn't help. If anything, it made things worse. That night, my dreams went deeper. I wasn't just in the hallway anymore. I was lying in one of the facility beds, paralyzed. The lights were off, but the emergency exit sign glowed red above the door. I heard breathing, long, shallow breaths, like someone dragging air through torn lungs. And then he was there, the thin-faced man, standing at the foot of the bed. He didn't move, didn't speak, just stared. His neck tilted ever so slightly, like he was curious about what I'd become. I woke up gasping for air, drenched in sweat, my nose bleeding. My arms were covered in tiny scratches, like fingernail marks. I hadn't had those when I went to sleep. I called out sick the next day, just couldn't do it. When I came back 2 nights later, one of the night staff, a quiet CNA named Drew, met me at the front desk. He looked pale, shaking, said he was quitting. I asked him what happened. He said, "There's something in the mirrors, man. I saw it watching me shave in the break room bathroom. It didn't move with me. It just stared." Then he leaned in close and whispered, "He doesn't blink." Drew left that night, never came back. Management didn't ask questions. That same week, Mrs. Halpern died, peacefully in her sleep, or so they said. But when I found her in the morning, something about the room felt wrong. The curtains were open, though I knew I'd closed them during rounds. The mirror above the sink was uncovered, smeared with fingerprints that weren't hers. And the digital alarm clock on her bedside table had stopped at 2:17 a.m. Her expression haunts me, eyes wide, mouth slightly parted, like she saw something she couldn't understand in her final moments. Not fear exactly, more like awe twisted with disbelief. I checked the security footage later that night. I knew I wasn't supposed to, but I couldn't help it. I needed to know. The files for that hallway cut out at exactly 2:16 and 38 seconds a.m. and resumed at 2 hours 18 minutes and 4 seconds. In that 1 minute and 26 seconds, nothing was recorded, except one camera, the one overlooking the long glass hallway. For a few seconds, it flickered to life. The footage was warped and staticky, like something from an old VHS tape. But I could see him, walking, slowly, smoothly. His limbs moved like they were too long for his body, like he hadn't quite figured out how to be in the world. He passed directly beneath the exit sign and turned toward the lens. For just a second, his face filled the screen. Not angry, not cruel, just observing, like he was taking inventory. Then the screen cut to black. That night, I started unplugging my mirrors. I stopped checking my reflection before bed. And when 217 rolled around, I kept all the lights on. Didn't help. I only worked there for another 5 days after Mrs. Halperin died. I didn't want to go back. Everything inside me told me to quit, leave town, disappear. But I was broke, and leaving without notice meant no severance, no reference, no insurance coverage. And some part of me, the dumb, stubborn part, wanted answers. I thought if I could just see him again, face to face, maybe I'd understand. Maybe I'd stop being afraid. The final straw was the new resident, a man in his late 70s with advanced Alzheimer's. He was nonverbal, didn't respond to light or sound, but his hands never stopped moving. When I peeked into his room during rounds, I saw him scratching long, looping shapes into the wall beside his bed. I thought it was gibberish at first, but then I realized he was drawing a face. A long one, a narrow one, eyes like sinking holes, and below it, written over and over again in shaky, childlike letters, "Don't look, don't look, don't look, don't look." That night, I didn't do my rounds. I sat in the office with the lights off, just the low hum of the monitors and the red glow of the exit sign by the door. I wanted to see him. If this was going to end, I needed to know it wasn't just some slow-burn psychotic break. At 2:17 a.m., all the cameras flickered. All but one went black. It was the east hallway again. The feed shook with static, but I could see movement, slow, gliding steps. A tall, stick-thin silhouette approaching the center of the frame. He was walking directly toward the office. I swear to you, the temperature in that room dropped 10 degrees in seconds. My breath fogged. My heart felt like it was pumping ice water. The door behind me groaned, just a little, as if something was pressing against it from the other side. I turned around and stared at it. My hand was on the lock. Then silence. The lights went out. Not just in the office, in the whole building. I stood there in total darkness, barely breathing. And then, I don't know how to explain this, the air changed, felt thinner, not just cold, but wrong, like the oxygen wasn't meant for me anymore. I turned on my phone flashlight. It flickered and died. Dead battery, even though it had been fully charged. I backed into the hallway and turned toward the mirror at the end, the one by the nurse's station. And there he was, in the reflection, standing right behind me. I didn't turn around. Couldn't. He was inches away. I couldn't see him directly, but I felt him. The pressure of his gaze, it wasn't physical, but it had weight, like staring into the gravity well of a collapsing star. And then he leaned forward, not in real space in the glass, his face pressed against the inside of the mirror, like he was trying to push through, and I felt something slip. I don't know how else to describe it. It was like a memory got pulled from me. Not a specific one, more like a thread. Some part of who I was gone. I tried to think of my childhood. My mom's face. My old apartment. Blank. I ran. I don't even remember how I got to the parking lot. I just remember the sky looking wrong. Too clear, too still, and the building behind me completely dark. I drove. Didn't pack. Didn't say goodbye. I haven't been back since. It's been 6 months. I live 3 states away now, working a desk job, avoiding mirrors, sleeping with the lights on. Most days I feel okay, but there are holes in my memory. Things I should know, names, dates, how certain scars got on my arms. But when I try to focus on them, I get a splitting headache, like something is squeezing from inside my skull. I haven't told anyone about what happened. Not my therapist. Not my sister. I don't think they'd believe me. I barely believe myself. But every night, at 2:17 a.m., I wake up, without fail. Sometimes the lights flicker. Sometimes I catch movement in the corner of my eye. And sometimes, the mirror across from my bed doesn't reflect the room the way it should. There's always something just out of frame, waiting. A few nights ago, I found something in my coat pocket, a scrap of black paper, like the last page of that notebook I found. On it, in my own handwriting, "He doesn't need to follow you. He just needs you to remember." So now I'm writing this, because I don't know how much longer I'll be able to. I can feel pieces of me slipping, like someone tugging loose threads. If you ever see him, If you ever feel that breath on your neck at 2:17, don't turn around. Don't look in the mirror. And whatever you do, don't try to remember his face.